All right, hey, what's going on, guys? So what I have in for repair today is a iPad Air 4th generation, and what's going on with it is the charging port. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this charging port and replace it with a new one. So let me show you guys how I do that. All right, so here you are over my desk, and that's the port right there. We're gonna go into the microscope, and that way you guys can see it a little bit better. Open up this app. I thought I fixed this the last time, but it's going back. Okay, so I'll leave the auto exposure on because it seems like that's the only way that it actually works. And there we go, we're underneath the microscope, and that's the port right here. So we're gonna cover over right here first because I don't want any heat to get on there. Even though I'm not gonna use too much heat, I still wanna make sure that I don't melt that plastic. So to prevent that, get some Kapton tape and put over that, okay? So I cut a piece of the Kapton tape off and wrap it like that. I'm going to just run it along there, and I'm going to put a few more pieces over it just to double up to make sure that I get all the way to the other side of the board, which will really help keep this. It will help keep this tape in place, right, and stop it from pulling off the board, because that's what really matters. Is from my experience on repairing stuff like this, I've always ran into the problem where I start melting stuff over here, and I'm like, why is that happening? And it's because the tape doesn't get all the way over there. So I don't have any low melt solder like I like to use. I don't know what happened to it, but I do and I don't. I do because I know I have a messy area, and because I have a messy area, it might be anywhere in the area. I just cannot find it right this second. I can look a little bit longer. And no, I don't edit these videos. I like to go live because I'm sort of lazy as far as editing goes. I used to edit. I have one video that I want to edit. And as soon as I do, I'll upload that one. But otherwise from that, no. So let's go ahead and let's just use some solder paste. Just be careful using solder paste if you're not familiar with it. If this is your first time replacing one of these, do not use this method. Please get some practice first before using this method. So I'm gonna kind of drag this across. Just like that. And that's why I added flux, just to make sure that. Let's turn on this fume extractor, and we're just gonna keep on making sure that we got enough solder get all the way down into the board. Because that's the most important thing, is making sure that I have enough solder going in all the way through. So that way when I come with my hot air, which I'm going to take the tip off, and the reason why is because I don't want the actual heat to be focused in one spot. Because if you do focus in one spot, you can damage stuff. So if I have the nozzle off and I'm kind of just blasting this thing with the hot air, it won't be as bad. So just keep that in mind. That's good. Okay, so then we'll come with our hot air. And I'm using 500 degrees full air Let's look to see. Okay. We didn't pull any pads, so that's good. No pads pulled. Let's go ahead and let's clean up this area. And just like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some more flux down. And then I'm going to get my soldering iron again. Yeah, I'm too close to that. At least for me. Now I can see the full picture of what's going on here. Okay. Not really worried about how messy it looks right now. And I'm going to come back and wick away all that. Okay, that's one pass. Not bad. A bigger tip would actually work out a lot better. So if you got a bigger tip, then yeah, I'm going to use the bigger blade tip. That's the only thing I don't like is sometimes this, like right now it's saying no tool. And over again it's saying no tool. Even though the iron is there, it says no tool. I really don't understand what happened with this E1210. Let me see if I have more tips for it. Or T1211, something like that. I feel like I bought so much tips for it and like they don't last that long at all. I feel like they might last maybe if I'm lucky. I have them around for 3 weeks and then I get a warning that, you know, they're burnt out or whatever. And my weller, I need to buy some bigger tips, but let's use what we have for now. I need to get onto their website and order some tips. Yeah, the board kind of cooled down, so that's why it's acting the way that it is. Let's go ahead and let's clean it off. I mean, that's okay. And we will come back in with some more solder paste. When I first used solder paste, trust me, it was not fun because I got it all over the board and then it got in a place that it wasn't supposed to, which really made it bad for me. So, just keep that in mind if you're using solder paste for the first time and you're wondering how all these other guys use it and, you're having so much issue with it. It's okay, man. We've all been there. That's all I can tell you. We've all been there. Okay, and what are we looking at over here? Okay, that looks good. Let's clean that away and let's see what we have. And from there we can start that little bridging right there. So we'll take care of that and then there we go. And I'm not going to leave all of that on there. We'll just take off most of it. I didn't even break up the bridging. All right, let's just bring some heat in there. There we go. That's good. Don't have to go crazy with it. And here's our new port. And it sits just like this. So I want to make sure that I see the whole connector first. And what I'm going to do now is, this made it a lot easier. I forgot where I seen this at. See where these holes are? You just take your tool and poke a hole through it. Like that. That will help you see the little copper pieces a little bit better. So when you go to solder, you make sure that it's aligned. That really helped me out because I was struggling before, like I can't see that little copper piece, and it just kind of made it a lot harder to solder this thing straight. So now since I do that, I can see it right there. Right there, and right there, and right there. So I can see it right there and right there. So that should be nicely aligned. So if you want to make it even easier on yourself, you can actually remove this tape now because you're not going to be really adding any more heat to the board. So you can remove that tape if you'd like, the capped on tape. But because I have such a hard time lining up everything, I'm going to take the tape and I'm going to put it on the edge of the port like this. And now once I've lined it up, right, like that, if I can get it to line up, because that's why I said to remove that first tape, this tape. So let me just wipe it down again and get a new piece of tape to put on there. Because the old ports came with a tape on it, and that sort of kind of worked at times, other times it didn't work. What you can also do is double side tape if you'd like to. You have some double side tape, go ahead and use that. So let's go ahead and line back up. That side with okay, I can see it over here. Make sure that side is taped down. Right here, what are we missing here? It's not lined up over here. And I don't know where the hole is at. Okay. There. There. Right there. And right there. Okay. Okay. That looks pretty good. Okay, and now we're gonna come in and we're just gonna simply use this, and you can add a little solder. And I'm just trying to get some solder on these. You can always come back and press firmly down on them just to make sure that you do get the solder to connect to the other side of the board. So I'm just going to come in here and just kind of slowly flood this whole thing with some solder, just like that. And you can tell that it's still not soldered down because it's wanting to move. So all right, I'm gonna have to take it out of the board holder because I want to press firmly down on this port to make sure that everything gets to where it needs to be. Doing this whole top row first. And now we're gonna do the bottom row, same thing. Now sometimes you do have to come back and touch them up again because they don't make a good connection on the other side, so you have to come back and still touch them up. Okay, and that looks good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to simply plug up my charger and see if I get any kind of reading from it. Yep. So I'm getting a reading from that side of the port. Okay, so I'm getting reading from both sides of the port, which is good. So we'll just clean up here. Remove the tape. Just like that. I'm going to get a new cloth to clean up the board with. I might have used all of these cloths up and I have to buy more also. Just these things that I really don't check on that I should check on more often. I haven't even checked what's going on YouTube. So it doesn't look like I have any more of those white cloths left. Yeah, I have one. One single one. So let's go ahead and let's use that to wipe down the rest of the board, and then we can move on. And there we go. So now let's put some black tape on it. This is the tape that I bought that I've been using. This tape right here. It's like a cloth. And that will stop it from shorting out to the bottom of the iPad. Okay, so there we go. We've removed that. And that's how the backside looks. That way when I put it in the housing, we don't have anything touching. Okay. And that looks good. So now we get to put it back in the housing. I don't have the screen for it, so I can't really test it in that way. The only way I can test it is when I actually connect up the battery to it. I can see what kind of reading I get from the battery, and that actually lets me know if it's charging or not. Because if I get it, you know, it goes to 400 milliamps, and once it goes to 400 milliamps, then it goes up from there. That lets me know that the battery, the charging port, is doing its job. It's communicating with the battery, and that should be good. And you're probably wondering what happens with the computer. Usually, if you have a problem with the battery charging, then you're going to have a problem with it communicating with the computer. If you have the battery charging, then you should be good with it communicating with the computer also. So let me put these screws in, and then I can properly test the charging port once I get these screws in. Okay, so I'm just going to hold the battery on the board and plug up the charger and see what happens. 500 milliamps. 800 milliamps, that's where we're stuck at right now. 1.6 amps, we're charging. Turn it around. Test the other side. 1.6 amp, we're good. It's not dropping. We're good. So this thing is done. So we just got to connect up a few ribbon cables here, and I think that's it for this iPad. Like I said, I can go into great details on and get a screen and plug a screen up and test it, but I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's necessary. It's a little bit easier to tell what's going on with them when you have the tools to check just to see the basics. If I had the screen, yeah, I could show you guys that it is working, but I don't have an iPad Air 4 screen. I think actually I sent it back to Mobile Centrics, not for RMA, but for a buyback, and they rated as pretty much they can't buy it because it's not working, but I know that it is, so I just left it alone. I seem to always run into a problem with trade-ins with them. Don't know why that is, but I always run into problems with them. So most of the time now I don't even bother. Just kind of throw the screens out instead of wasting my time. Because I send them a few S20s and I know that the S20 was working. There was a small crack on it from the customer. And even when the customer gave it to me, they were making phone calls from it. I sent it to Mobile Centrics and they marked it as unusable. Like, whatever, dude. Whatever, man. Okay, so that's put back together. It's just that. Let me show you guys that. Sure, there's a tape on the other side. As long as I make sure all these cables are removed and not stuck underneath this. Yeah, there is a tape, but I'm not going to mess with the tape either. I'm just going to leave the port like this. And I just got to make sure that nope, the tape is coming off, so the tape wants to come off. Okay, so let's put this battery tab back underneath there, and I don't even know where these rubber pieces go, so we just gotta hope for the best. I mean, the shop can correct these if they need to. Not that big of a deal. Oh, you guys probably can't see that, huh? We'll put it over the desk. Yep, so I was just connecting all of these up, or some of them at least, not all of them. Uh, and then we'll just leave them. Hold on. Let's see if we can adjust this other, my over the desk camera. See how it has that blue tint? Let's see if we can change that. Shouldn't be like that. Where is the tool for this? This is Logitech. Let's see if we can adjust that. Camera and not really doing much to it. I think that's the wrong camera that I'm adjusting, right? Yeah, that is the wrong camera. Why is it not seeing my other Logitech? That's strange. Let's see if we can add maybe a filter to it. So we have a color correction on here. I don't want to overexpose it either. But then it gives my light like a blue light. Guess that's okay. I mean, I should have an auto white balance, but it's not, for whatever reason, not working right now. But that's not that bad. So either way, we got this thing all finished, and now we can return it. So I'm just gonna clean off all the flux off the board, and that looks good. All this other stuff, when we return it, the other shop can take care of that stuff. All right, so let's end this video, guys, because I do have some more repairs to do, but there's only so many repairs I can upload and do all at the same time. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next